Oh. All right, my friend. So you're saying, so go for it. So you're saying, where were you left off?
Forgot
You
what I was,
forgot?
yeah.
Yeah. So listen, you got your buddy from the motorcycle, your boss, ultimately to invest money in your business. You are CEO and co-founder. Obviously, he's one of the founders with you.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah,
And-
we all, so it's me, him, and it's actually one of my first sponsors. So we actually ran out of money. So we anticipated the rehab to cost like 700 grand at first, and we started to like bleed out too fast. And
Wow.
he ended up putting up like another like 400 grand. That money was disappearing. We didn't know. Honestly, I learned everything through like Google and like just Indeed, hiring people and getting people's feedback. And one of my first sponsors ever had mentioned wanting to do something. And I had tried to do a treatment center with him like prior, but he wasn't like willing. He kind of was like all talk, you know? And as soon as he found out that that I had done it with someone else, now he was like he was like angry, you know? So we got him involved, and now all three of us are owners, and we basically all have equal percentage.
Where'd you get your MBA from? Harvard, NYU, UM?
The streets.
Streets of DB, Florida, bro.
Yeah.
Oh man, 25. P&L, are you gonna do P&L? I mean, this stuff entrepreneurs should know, right? You know nothing about this, right?
Man, I didn't know anything about billing. I didn't know about any type of structure with utilization review. I didn't understand an org chart of a company. I didn't know like the hierarchy of like a typical business. I didn't know what a CEO did. I didn't know what a COO did. I didn't know about compliance, zoning, none of that stuff. Any type of medical records, dealing with insurance companies. Really, I just learned by not being shy to ask questions and being so involved. Like when we first started the business, I had a couple people that mentored me, and whenever I would ask them a question, they would make me figure it out. So I had this one guy who I would call him and be like, hey, I have this insurance company. It's Blue Cross Blue Shield Independence. It's out of, I forget, like Ohio. I don't know if it pays good. What do you think? And dude, this said, I'll never forget. I asked, thinking like, you're my boy. You're supposed to tell me if it's a good insurance or not. And he said, well, Bryan, do you know how insurance was started? I was like, what? He's like, well, back in the day, people were dying, and when they would get sick, they wouldn't have enough money to pay for the doctor. So what they would do is that doctors started to say, pay me monthly, and if you ever get sick, I'll cover it. So that's how insurance started. And then he went on and on about how Blue Cross and Blue Shield used to be two different insurance companies. And he just went on and on about the history of health insurance. And I was like, but okay, that's great. But does the policy pay good? And he goes, I don't know. Why don't you figure it out?
They left it up to you to do the legwork.
So he basically told me like, dude, I'm not going to give you the answers.
Yeah, that's so strong to do. Because some people just say, hey, here, do this, and run with it. But no, he wants you to earn your way and earn your stripes. Bryan, you're settled now. You're 32 years old. You're not married. I don't know if I see you on social media. You're a single guy. You have a dog. I know.
Cats.
Two cats. Okay, that's right. Okay. You're a big film guy, which I mean you both are very much similar. What would you say are the takeaways, habits, daily tasks? I want my team to take away something today and have a tangible list. Say, okay, I get Bryan's history was amazing. His story is amazing, but how can I take what Bryan did to improve as a real estate agent, professional entrepreneur, a dad, whatever it may be, husband? First takeaway, you have a daily habit. What do you do?
So I would say that what I always tell people is that there's never one thing that like encompasses successful people, because some successful people wake up at 4:30 in the morning and they grind 80 hours a week. Then there's someone who's like the CEO of a giant company. He probably sleeps in until noon and only makes like 3 decisions a day, but those 3 decisions are on point, and he's fat and he's overweight and he still like kills it at work, you know? So there's never like a one type of thing. I know entrepreneurs that are late for meetings all the time. We talk about being early. My business partner, Alex, super successful. He's late to everything. So it's like there's one characteristic that blankets success. But I do know that one thing that I see is resilience. So even in like law school and people who become doctors, you know, my friend became a doctor, and he used to tell me that some of the smartest kids in his class didn't graduate. And some of the dumbest kids did, because they just were more resilient. So I would say being resilient and being persistent is probably the only thing that I really have going for me. Dude, I was smoking crack at 14. I have like 4 brain cells, you know? But those 4 brain cells don't fucking quit. You know what I mean? Like, I might not be able to figure it out on the first time. I'm also a slow learner. If you explain something to me, I don't get it the first time.
Like me, same way. Yeah.
I read
over and over.
I was really confused. When I started making money, I was really confused with taxes, and I was really confused with investing. And it used to make me feel overwhelmed. I got a freaking thing in the mail saying I owed 400 grand in taxes. You know, and
wow.
I didn't know anything about how taxes worked. I was 27 years old, 26 years old. You know, I didn't have any idea about investing. And I read Tony Robbins' Money Master the Game. I read the book twice. I had no idea what the fuck he was talking about. You know, I read it 3 times and I started to get it. And I think like the 4th time I read it, I started to understand what like a Roth IRA is. I started to understand what like stocks and bonds were. I started to understand like the power of diversity. But I don't think I really started to master my craft until 3 years as a CEO. My first 3 years as a CEO, I think I kind of just did the best that I could as a leader, but I wasn't confident. So as a CEO, I always felt like a sheep in wolf skin. You know, I always felt like somebody was going to say, hey, you're too young, or I didn't feel secure in the way I was doing things, because I hadn't done the research to back up if what I was doing was actually right, or if this is just what I came up with on my own. And about 3 years in, I started really reading. And man, like reading has reinforced that what I was doing was right, and has sharpened a lot of my skills with working with people. It's allowed me to step out of my comfort zone and do things that are different. There's so many books that I've read about Google, about Apple, how they work, how they keep people engaged, how they reward longevity, how they have employee retention programs, about how not everyone is motivated by money. It's the craziest thing to me. What else could you be motivated by?
Power, maybe, right?
There's some people that are motivated by titles. I don't understand this, but I swear
they are. Yeah.
I have to stop thinking that everyone's like me.
No,
not all of my employees are going to be motivated. To me, you could call me the janitor if you pay me $1 million a year. You pay me $1 million a year, you call me the janitor. I will clean the toilets. Yeah. There are some people that they don't want to clean the toilets no matter what. They want to go to work and feel like they're making a difference.
Yeah, you're right. I have a question. Is actually the questions from my beautiful wife who's listening in. How you're the motorcycle guy. Are you guys still in partnership together?
Yeah, he's staying at my house right now. He's in town from Utah. He's not here now, but yeah, he's staying at my house. He doesn't really work anymore, you know. So he's not really involved in the business, but we're like brothers, you know, which is so interesting because, like I said, I didn't have a dysfunctional family, but growing up, my father used to tell me that you can't trust people. My father used to tell me that everyone in life is going to screw you over.
Fuck you over.
My father used to tell me you can never trust somebody. Don't do business with anybody. Everyone's out to get you. You know, even my family was really skeptical about him. The first time I ever went to this man's house, he handed me $50,000 in cash. And he said, go buy motorcycles for me. I went home and I told my dad, and my dad was like, he's doing something illegal.
Yeah.
My dad was like, do not trust that. My dad was like, why does this guy need you?
Exactly.
My dad's like, who the hell are you? My dad is like, you just stopped smoking crack last year. You know, my dad was like, dude, this guy is not an idiot. He obviously has money. Why does he need you?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
sometimes your family could be your biggest haters.
Oh, yeah.
Not because they hate on you, because they want to keep you safe.
Yes.
So your family wants to protect you the same way we want to protect the child, and we actually inhibit them from growing.
Exactly.
So amongst reading and all these other things, man, I've spent 10 grand in therapy. I've done every self-help book you could imagine. I've done group therapy. So I've done all these different things that get me to connect with people, because I truly believe that connecting with others is how you get others enrolled into believing that they can do a better job and they can dream bigger and they can do better. Because sometimes just having sales meetings and saying, get your freaking numbers up, doesn't motivate people.
Yeah, you're right. Wow. Question. Have you gone to seminars, Tony Robbins in person and
Yeah.
Patrick Bet-David, all those
Yeah.
guys?
I haven't done Patrick Bet-David, but I've done Tony Robbins. I'm reading Never Finished right now, David Goggins' new book. Just to list some, like Jesse Itzler, Living
He's
with
awesome.
a Steel, Who Moved My Cheese,
That's an amazing book.
Total Recall, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Good book.
Man.
Gucci Man. Yeah, Gucci's Man book of the
Yeah,
day
I love
last
Gucci
year.
Man's book, Gucci Man's autobiography, and Gucci Man's like Laws of Success.
I saw that. You're reading that book.
Yeah, his
man.
books are great. Obviously, like the Four Agreements.
Yeah.
The Bible, you know, like his Four Agreements is what I hand out to every client that
I
comes
know.
to our doors.
I'm already gonna do that for our agents too right now. It's a
Yeah.
really good book.
Four Agreements is probably like the simplest book on spirituality and how to live your life. But I just think that like every book I read just motivates me, because that motivation dwindles.
Yes, sir. You're right.
You know, I'll finish a book and not read for a couple months, and I'll forget what I'm doing on this earth.
Yeah.
You know,
Edison, you there, buddy? He has some questions you want to ask you too. Listen, hold on. Edison, you have some questions, buddy?
No, I'm here, man. No, I'm good, man. Yeah, the Four Agreements. That's one of my favorite books. I'm reading right now.
And we broke.
So, like
some
at
of
night,
these
so-
habits.
Yeah.
Awesome.
What was
Brian,
that?
I'm so sad. Edison, I covered his habits, his daily routines. We talked about that. We want to make sure you walk away with something tangible, some meat and potatoes in their hand to walk away with, and they can say every day they can do. And what he shared, let me just talk to you about my notes here. He says that no one habit covers all success. Something we talk about also, Edison, right? A CEO can wake up 4 a.m. in the morning, go to the gym, and one could wake up 10 a.m. They could both be very effective, right? So I love that point. He's right. And to be strong, not to give up. Another thing for entrepreneurs, I love what he said, really important. Number 3 thing, reading. The importance of reading, which we do right now in our company. We're big in the reading, so awesome.
yeah, I think reading in a group and discussing like what you got out of it. Like I have a close friends, and like we're constantly talking about like what book is good, and we're pushing each other. And like what I realized is like I have friends that I make money with that I won't necessarily go to dinner with. You know what I mean? I have friends that I go to dinner with that I would never start a business with. I have friends that I work out with that I do. I started doing jujitsu.
I saw that. You were there today.
I'm super addicted to jujitsu now. And it's like, I have friends that I do jujitsu with, like I probably wouldn't go to dinner with. And like, not everybody needs to be everything to you. So it's like a lot of times people won't start a business with somebody because they don't like them. But it's like, bro, that person knows how to make money.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Right.
a lot of people who know how to make money are not people. They're numbers people. And people who are numbers people lack a lot of EQ. EQ is emotional IQ, is like your emotional IQ, but they have a high IQ. I have a low IQ and a high EQ. I
think
can
me too.
connect. I can connect with people, and
Yeah,
I'm
me
not
too.
so great on the numbers and business side. That's why I have 2 business partners that are. So in life, you kind of have to find people that balance you out instead of just focusing on people that are just like you.
Wow, that is strong. Like people say, well, you can't be an entrepreneur. You're not good with numbers. You're an idiot. Okay, I may not be good with numbers, but I'm good with concepts and visualizing and a vision. But my partner here, like, right now in our company, More Homes, we have us, me, Edison, Juan, 3 of us as partners. Each one of us have a different thing we bring to the table. So I agree with you. Listen, man, you're 32 years old. You have a huge future ahead of you. Why don't you sleep in every day, bro, and relax, play video games? Like, why go to the office? Why do all the stuff you're doing? Why?
Man, I feel broke every day. Like I up and just think about why I'm not where I need to be. I have goals that I think about every day. So one thing I do that you guys can start doing is
Yeah.
I write down my goals every single day in
Yes.
first person, 5 years from now, multiplied by 5.
Yes, so I learned that from Danny Morel, a speaker. I talked to my team about it. What I tell them to do is write down 10 goals, 1 year, 5 year, long term, 10 things they're grateful for, and 3 things that made them happy the day before. And then there's affirmation like, I am happy and grateful I'm earning XYZ a month or more.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And so what happened to me was that I was so focused on my future goals that I was not focused enough on the next move. So I was so focused on like selling the company that I had lost sight of what we need to do tomorrow. So what I started to do is have a short-term goal that is the #1 priority along with the long-term goals. So instead of having like 10 short-term goals and 10 long-term goals, one short-term goal, 5 long-term goals. And I just make it really short and simple. And when I write out my goals, my first 10 goals are not material. To remind myself that the most important thing in my life is that I wake up grateful and I go to sleep peaceful. I do charity. I give to others, and that life is about giving, not about what we're getting, and that I have a strong relationship with my family and I have long-term friendships. Those are my long-term goals, and those are the most important goals.
Wow.
The success and the net worth and how many cars I want, all that stuff comes later,
Yeah, that's strong, man. Some people say it's what you know, how much you do something, like, you should make 100 phone calls, you go out there and do door knocking. In my experience so far, I'm 40 years old, I feel that's a daily routine of an entrepreneur, whatever you do. But before that, the mindset has to be set. You cannot have a weak mindset and go out there and kill, because like you said, you're gonna get failure. You're gonna get punched in the stomach, so to speak, in business, right? Have you ever had some failures in business so far, Bryan?
Oh my God. So I had one of the hardest things for me was I had one of my top guys go do what I wanted to do. So I had one of my top guys who I trained, who was making, not a lot of money. He was with the company for years, making 6 figures. And I had found out that he was working with other places behind my back. Somebody that I picked up his kids from school, called like family, and like when you feel that, you feel like real betrayal. It was worse than romantic betrayal. Business betrayal is crazy. And it's like, man, I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. I couldn't think about how this happened to me. And there's a book called Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willings. And like it talks about taking ownership for like your actions. And it's like, I had to think about that. How could I one person to have that much control over my company? Because people had warned me, dude, you shouldn't have one guy doing all those things. What if he gets hit by a bus tomorrow? What if he leaves? And I would say he'd never leave. He's my brother. We're family. I almost gave him a percentage of the company, and this is why a business cannot rely on single people. One of my mentors told me, he was like, if you have a business that doesn't run with 2 or 3 people, you didn't build a business. That's not a business. If your business has people that can't be replaced, that's not a business. It's only a business is if you can have people leave, come and go, and nothing changes.
Wow.
And it's not about not caring, because I used to think that it meant not caring about your employees.
Yeah.
I used to think that if my employees were replaceable, that means I didn't care about them. And the reality is that I was so caught up in being a friend and love and, you know, this loyalty, that it's not about being loyal or unloyal or being paranoid. It's about this must come first, and I need to prepare myself for anything. So instead of saving money and having one person in charge of all of this, I'd rather spend more money to have two people in charge, and that creates competition. Because when you're working at my company and you're the only guy in charge of X, Y, and Z, you start to get an ego.
You're right.
Because you know that if you leave, we're fucked. You know that if you leave, that no one else is going to be able to do this. But when there's somebody next to you working just as hard, you're like, holy shit. If I leave, they're just going to have this guy handle it. And that's what I needed to learn. That's
powerful, man. That you have to have multiple people. Don't rely on one person. That's super strong. Hey, Raphael, you have a question, my love?
Yes. Speaking of the tough times that you've gone through, especially with like, you know, your business or your failure and stuff, you know, what do you do to kind of maintain your mindset and maintain your focus when life really kind of kicks you in the gut? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
How do you keep up your pace?
So one, like being a recovering addict, like I have things I need to do to stay clean. So I need to go to meetings. I need to have a sponsor. Part of that is prayer. Part of that is reading. And I always tell myself worst case scenario. And if I can be okay with worst case scenario, then I can set myself up. And what I talked about with the employees, I need to do that in my personal life. So there's times where we thought the business was going to fail, totally fail. But I have been putting away money into other things this whole time. And that book, Money Mastery of the Game, talked about diversity. So a lot of sexy stories come out there about how this guy got rich off this one thing and that how they risked it all for this one thing. But not, that's just gambling. Diversity is the only thing that's going to set you up for anything to happen in life. So when all your money is in real estate, if the real estate market crashes, you're screwed. If all your money is in stocks, if the stock market crashes, you're screwed. But if you have 5, 6 different buckets of life insurance, stocks, real estate, and you have it spread out, unless the world falls apart, you're good. So I needed to understand that if my business fell apart and I lost everything, what would I do? Move back into my parents' house and then start X, Y, and Z? That's okay. You know, remind myself like, dude, I got 2 arms and 2 legs. I don't have terminal cancer. So a lot of times we make this so bad in our heads. Oh, I'm going to lose my big house and my 3 cars. Oh, big whoop. You know, I'm okay with those things not being in my life because I was okay with them before them. So a lot of times when I go through something, I just think about the worst case scenario. I accept it and I focus on the things that I can change. And a lot of times the only thing you can change is your attitude. When I'm looking for employees, the number one thing I'm looking for is a positive attitude. I don't care if you have all the degrees in the world. If you're negative and you're negative with the people you work with and you're constantly talking about people or you're constantly complaining, I don't care how good you are at your job. You're toxic. You need to go. So having a positive attitude costs $0.
Wow. Raphael, that's your question?
Yes, thank you. That was awesome.
I mean, that's so powerful. You said the fact that sometimes the only thing you have that you can control is your attitude. That's the only thing you have. And that comes back to mindset. And that's why for me, mindset is over everything, right? Edison, anything from you, man, before we end it?
Yeah, no, guys,
Eddie,
have like
yeah.
hardly any service, man. So like,
Okay.
no,
We'll do the podcast interview together, Eddie. Thank you. Eddie, it's not working. All right. Anyways, guys, so where can we find you, man? On IG?
Instagram, Bryan, Bryan .the kid, Bryan.the kid. My podcast is Hell Has an Exit, HELL has an exit. And the company's called United Recovery Project.
Here, I'm gonna share right here in the group chat. And thing, and quickly, I'm gonna show them. Guys, you should see his podcast is amazing. By the way, Bryan, I didn't tell you this, but your podcast inspired me to start my own podcast.
That's
So
awesome.
right now I'm buying camera, I'm buying stuff. I'm gonna call you for that. I'm gonna get some
There you go.
pointers
Anytime.
because I need to do that stuff. Hold on, I gotta share my screen with y'all. There it is. You guys see it? He's interviewed Lamar Odom. He interviewed Jordan Belfort from Wolf of Wall Street.
Mhm.
And it's amazing. Great stories he has. And some of them people are his friends from back in the day. But, you know, to get Lamar Odom and Jordan Belfort for a podcast, been in business for 1 year, pretty much, right, Bryan?
Yeah. I mean, consistent persistency and connections. The thing about a podcast is that it's like anything else, it's a marathon. So a lot of people can do a podcast for a week, for 6 weeks, 6 months, but doing an episode every single week, finding a new guest. We're at episode like 103, 102 now. So it's like,
I see that.
you know, it's 2 years of podcasting day in and day out, finding these guests. And it's, you know, Joe Rogan did a podcast for 5 years before he ever made any money.
Yeah.
So it's like a lot of times people don't see that, like, you know, like the bamboo tree stays dormant for 5 years. And then after year 5, it grows 6 feet.
Yeah.
So, you know, just like knocking on doors, just like selling real estate, you know, I have a friend who's a realtor and I'm like, dude, why aren't you handing out flyers at the mall right now? You know, why aren't you knocking on doors?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, there's 24 hours in the day. You sleep for 6. You still got like 18 hours. And to be honest with you, it's like what you do in those 18 hours makes the difference.
Wow.
In my opinion, it's better to work 5 years, 80 hours a week to live the rest of your life however you want. Because a lot of times, like what happened with me with fitness, I was trying to lose 10 pounds for like 3 years. You know, I would lose 10 pounds, I gained 10 pounds, I lose 10 pounds, I gained 10 pounds. And it wasn't until I did 75 hard, Andy Frasilla's workout thing, where I realized that working out really hard for 75 days with 0 cheat meals was more effective than working out for years.
Yeah.
And your goals sometimes aren't as far as you think they are. You think that it might take years. It might just take a couple of months of
hardcore, consistent working out.
Stop working 24/7, pounding the, you know, hitting the pavement.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, 75 hard. One of our partners did it. I'm gonna probably do it January, February. I'm thinking. Bryan, man, I don't know. I can't find the words to thank you. I know you're a busy man. Dude, every time I DM you, you're always there to respond, and you helped me some topics we talked about on a personal level. You're awesome. I come to South Florida quite a bit. My in-laws live in Miramar. So as soon as I started my own podcast, and then we have one called Business Casual. We'll interview you in more detail. I want to get more detail on the war stories, but I know some of the stories I have my notes here, but they're kind of, there's a lot to unpack there. My friend, you're awesome. Thank you so much, man. You know,
I appreciate it.
God bless you, and thank you for joining us, man.
Anytime, man. You guys have a good day.
Thank you.
Let's sell some houses.
Yes, let's go. Thank you, Bryan.
Thank you.
Rafael, you had a good interview?
Yep, it was good.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Awesome, good stuff. Johnny Morris? Johnny's
yes, it was great. Thank you so much for the interview.
Good. Thank you so much for joining. Raquel, probably she's your own podcast.
It was great. Thank you. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you, team.